My name is Dr. Forrester Dean, chiropractor and sports medicine physiotherapist here in my beautiful training studio in Torrance, California. Today we're going to be discussing the suspension system stretch series. So first let me introduce to you the suspension system. So this is just a generic one, but basically it has three parts. It has the ladder here, which is basically segmented sections, which makes adjusting the length of the ladder really quick. This is the adjustable arm straps here, and usually there's just like a little clip and you can adjust the length shorter or longer. And then of course the grip. Now different suspension systems have a lot of different features, okay? This one's super basic. This was about $30, $35, okay? Now it has to be attached high, and I have some hooks here, but you can also pass it over the door. These systems come with like a little extra goodie that you clip it to. You throw it over the door and you close the door and it holds it in the door. All right, let's go ahead and get started. The first ones we're going to do are the upper body, and there are 5 of them. Mostly we're going to be stretching joint capsules, not really muscles, okay? So that's different. First one we're going to do is crouch number 1. So what I'm going to do is turn around. I'm going to have one in each hand. I'm going to start to squat down pretty low. I'm going to catch my body weight. Now, you're going to want to adjust your foot position for your particular body shape, okay? And I'm going to start to drop down. I'm going to let my arms get long. I'm going to scoop my butt. Let me show you here. I'm going to scoop my butt under. I'm going to round my back, and I'm going to drop my chin. So what I'm doing is I'm opening up between the shoulder blades. I'm getting a nice stretch at the base of my spine, back of my neck. And I'm just going to kind of hang out here. I'm going to draw my belly and kind of hollow the belly out a little bit. And I'm just going to breathe in and out. I'm also getting kind of a stretch over my knees. Now we talked about before about trying to stay in motion, but sometimes a good stretch can also just be sustained, or you can just be still. As long as you're doing breath in and out. And I'm noticing as I hang here that I'm actually getting a little bit more space between my shoulder blades. My back is starting to round actually a little bit more. And then I'm going to take a big breath in, and I'm going to go ahead and come up. Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. Next one we're going to do is the chest stretch. So I'm going to turn around, face out, one in each hand. I'm going to keep my hands open, and I'm going to do a split stance. So 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. I'm going to widen my arms, and I'm going to gently pull my chest forward. So notice I'm not leaning forward. So I don't want you to do this, because that's not a stretch. So I'm keeping my spine straight up and down, and then I'm going to flip my hands up so my thumbs are pointing backwards. And I'm going to pull my thumbs back. I'm going to gently pass forward, and then I'm going to pass back. Breath in. Exhale, stretch. Now this isn't much of a stretch for me, so I'm noticing I'm probably going to move out a little more. And now I can really get some nice stretch. That's the pectoralis muscle, the front of the shoulders. I'm even getting a little bit of stretch in my bicep. And I want you to notice how small I'm moving. In and out. You could do breath to motion. Good. And then just for good measure, I'm going to switch my feet and do a couple more. Not that it makes a difference, but it's just for good measure. Yeah. So subtle. Good. And then the next one we're going to do is the twist. So I'm going to go ahead and let go of one. Now this is going to be working the back of the shoulder and the lats. So I'm going to start by holding with the outside arm. I'm going to get a nice wide base. I'm going to pass my free arm behind my back. I'm going to bend over a little bit, and then I'm going to start to lean away. Now my goal, I'm going to shuffle out here a little more, is actually to twist. So what I'm trying to do is pull this shoulder under my body to get this twist. and I'm getting all the way here into my lats. Now I like to keep a downward gaze, but if you feel like you want to turn your head up and lean away a little more, yeah, the palm should be up. Okay, and then I'm going to switch to the other side, show you what it looks like on the other side. So I'm going to fold at the hip, I'm going to gently lean away, and then you can kind of see here, I'm getting a nice pull. This feels so nice all across here. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling the arm bone kind of out of the socket from the back of the shoulder. So the back of the shoulder capsule is being stretched. Let's put my arm behind my back. Yeah, I could do this all day. Okay, so that's the twist. Next one we're going to do is the shoulder opener. So it's kind of the opposite of what we just did. So I'm going to pass my arm behind my back, and I'm going to stretch away. Now I'm stretching the front capsule of the shoulder. So you can kind of see if I'm pulling my body this way, but the shoulders my arm is being pulled out and down. Now I can get a little more out of this. I can actually get into the trap a little bit if I put my hand over my ear and just give it a nice little gentle pull. So the shoulder's being pulled down while my head here is being pulled in the opposite direction. And it's kind of getting into the scalenes in here, top of the trap a little bit. Now if I wanted to get more trap, I would turn towards the stretching shoulder, and that'll give more trap stretch. Yeah, okay, so now let's turn it into a mobilization. So I'm going to keep the same footprint, and what I'm going to do is turn this way, release the stretch, straighten my arm, and then I'm going to pass my arm all the way up and over across the front to here. Now, I'm not feeling any stretch here now, so what I'm going to do is step away just a little bit. Now, I'm going to start with a little bit of distraction here. And now, I'm going to straighten my arm. And now I want you to watch the shoulder capsule. Watch this right here. It's going to twist. You see that? Around, 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 around. And then I'm going to kind of sneak it behind my back. Now I have a lot of stretch happening here in the front capsule. So this is pulling backwards. And then I'm going to turn here, release, pass up over. And now I'm getting a nice stretch in the back here, in the teres, and then back to the front. So I would do that 3-4 times in a row. Let's go ahead and do the other side. So I'll show you from the back. So I'm going to start here. And then I'm going to turn to release the stretch, straighten my arm, and I'm going to just kind of watch my hand all the way up and over to the front. Okay, now here's where we add the extra tension. I'm going to gently step away, straighten my arm, and now I have to be careful on the way back. You're going to kind of pass through this sticking point right here, and then watch. There's the turn right there. And then here's all the stretch. So this is more of a mobilization than like a specific stretch. So I'm getting a lot of rotation in the joint capsule. Little stretch, sweep up and around. You can tell I could do breath to motion here. Yeah. So that's kind of a speed you could try if you want to try something a little extra. Okay, so that's the mobilization. Okay, now let's go to the lower body stretches. First one we're going to do is called crouch number 2. So remember the first crouch we did was for the back, and this one's for the bottom of the feet and the quads around the knee. So again, I just kind of make 2 little chicken arms like this, and then I'm going to drop down, and then I notice that this isn't going to really work yet, so I need to come back, and I'm going to pull my heels forward and really get into the bottom of the feet and across the top of my quads, across my knees. And notice the difference. So in crouch number 1, I was in a round back. Crouch number 2, I'm in a flat back. So my chest is up high, gaze is high, flat back. And then pull my heels forward. Yeah, that feels really nice. And then I'm going to take a big breath in, and I'm going to come up. All right, next one we're going to do is going to be the calf stretch. So I'm just going to keep one. And what I'm going to do is put my hand through, and then I'm going to take my other hand and place it kind of on the top like this. So one hand is through, one hand is on the top. And then I'm going to come into a split stance, sort of like a lunge position. I'm going to bend my knee here. I'm going to hold this position here, and then I'm just going to push back and straighten the back leg. And then I'm going to pull the knee in. I'm going to press out. Now, remember, on a calf stretch, you don't want to jam your foot. There's no goal of always going to the floor. That's not necessary. Yeah, in and out. Now, the lower leg actually has 2 sets of muscles. So gastroc, which is the one you can see on the top, is getting stretched when my leg finishes straight. Okay, so I'm going to go underneath that to the soleus. So I'm going to bend my knee, and then when I press my heel back, you'll notice my knee is still bent. So now I'm stretching soleus muscles, which are underneath the gastroc. They're all considered calf muscles. Press back. Yeah, it feels so nice. And then I'm going to go ahead and switch. So I'm just going to pass this over my head, switch my hands, switch my grip, switch my feet, keep my chest up, and I'm going to start in that lunge position and just press back my heel to a straight leg. And this is another good one that's breath to motion. And then now I'm going to get into that soleus. So I'm going to bend my knee, finish bent, start bent, finish bent. So I'm noticing I have a lot more range of motion on this side. Yeah, okay. So that's the calf set, and the next one we're going to do is going to be the hip flexor. So again, we can just start with one. Let's start on this side. And I'm going to go ahead and kneel down. 1 foot forward, and I'm just going to park this on my shoulder and press down. And then I'm just going to shuffle back until I feel like I've got some mobility in my hips. So when I was set up more over here, I didn't have any hip mobility. Okay, so now I'm going to park this on my hip, on my shoulder here, and I'm going to slide. See, I'm sliding my shoulder down the strap, and I'm going to slide back. And see, I'm sliding my shoulder down the strap. Now notice I'm not folding over, and I'm definitely in a bit of a back bend. And what I'm doing is I'm pushing this hip forward and down, but I'm making sure my chest stays up. Now if you want, you could put a little pad or something underneath your knee if you needed some cushion. Yeah, so I have a lot of flexibility in my hip flexors. So then I'm going to go ahead and come out. I'm going to set up on the other hand and set up on the other side. Here, let me move over here. Okay, and the same thing, I'm going to park the strap here and slide down. So I like this little trick because it prevents you from rounding your body downward. And then again, I'm focusing on this hip flexor, the psoas muscle, a little bit of that rectus femoris. It's getting a nice stretch. And I'm practicing proper posture. Even my shoulders, I'm keeping my shoulders down and low. Keeping my chest up high, chin up high. Yeah. So I'm kind of using stability features, right? Core features on the top while I stretch the bottom. Okay, and then the next one we're going to do is hamstring stretch. So I'm going to just pass over to the other side. I'm going to do the same grip, hand on the hand, just like this, like we've been doing. Now with a hamstring stretch, you've all seen this. This is like the triangle position from yoga. You're actually going to get a better stretch if your feet are closer together than if your feet are really far apart. So I'm going to say, just something like this is going to be good. Now, I'm going to do the same little trick. I'm going to slide my shoulder forward, and I'm going to keep my gaze up. And see, I'm focusing on this hamstring now. So you notice I just slide my shoulder down. And so this little trick, again, keeps you from dropping your chest down, rounding your back, and it's helping you keep your gaze up. Yes, that feels really nice. Now, let's say I wanted to get a little bit more out of this. I can just flex up my foot. And that's going to add a little more pre-tension, right? Before I stretch. And then when I shift down, I'm getting a little extra stretch. And then I want to make sure the opposite hip stays forward when I stretch. This feels really good. And then you could do breath to motion. Yeah. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and set up on the other side. Same thing. Check my distance. And then I'm going to put it on my shoulder, gently fold. And then if you just look at my back, you'll see that my back is not round at all. So in a hamstring stretch, the goal is not to get your head to the floor, right? The hamstrings are attached from the leg, the femur, to the hip, the bottom of the hip bone. They're not attached to your head. So there's no reason for your head to be involved in the stretch. Yeah. I really like this one. I can tell one side's different than the other. Okay, nice. And then the last one we're going to do is the glute bend. So what we're going to do is, let's go back to 2 straps. And I'm going to turn my toes like pigeon toes, like this, okay? So creating pre-tension again in the stretch. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold, and notice again I have a flat back, and I can tell right now I'm not really getting my full potential from the stretch, so I'm going to step back a little, set up again, and I'm going to gently fold. So notice I'm keeping my gaze up, and I'm folding with a flat back. So essentially what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to turn my pelvis down. Can you see that? I'm turning my pelvis, but I'm not trying to get my head closer to the floor. Yeah. So if you did this with your toes just pointing forward, you just wouldn't get the same amount of stretch, but that might be enough for most people. And then I'm just going to say, for completeness, if you wanted to focus on one side, you could turn one in and keep one neutral. And then in this example, I'm focusing more on the right set of hip rotators instead of on the left. Great. So that's it. Those are the 10 stretches. And feel free to do those whenever you want. Some people ask me, hey, Dr. Dean, do I stretch before I work out or after I work out? I'm going to say, just make sure you don't stretch cold. So a hot shower would work, or a little cardio, or a little yoga flow, or something like that before you stretch would be super helpful. Thanks for joining me. Dr. Forrester Dean, see you again soon. Thanks.